Hello, my friends and First Baptist Church of Clovis family. I am making a video for our annual meeting. I know it would be awesome to be able to meet in person inside of the worship center or activity center like we have in years past, but we're not quite there yet with COVID still going on. But fortunately, it does look like we are coming out of that season, and we are grateful. I just want to share with you a few quick things that God has been doing through 2020. It is really easy if we allow ourselves to focus on the negative and everything that has occurred in 2020. And I just want to take a few minutes to say, God was still working. He is still working. He was good yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and we want to stop and praise Him. And I realize that as I say that, 2020 did have a lot of things that happened that were negative and sad and unfortunate and deserved mourning. People did lose their lives, and we recognize a lot of people lost income and are on financial hardship. And so we do want to stop and recognize that, but we also want to take time to carve out to still praise God for the good that He has done in 2020. And I just want to share that with you. I believe that He was even able to use some of the negative things that occurred in 2020 to glorify Himself and to grow us closer to Him. And it stretched us in ways that we couldn't have thought of on our own. And for that, we are grateful to Him. And so we want to lean into 2021 as God leads us in new directions with new things to come. But before I get there, let me just highlight a few things from 2020. It began with the whole shelter in place back in March. I think all of us kind of remember where we were at, where we were told Disneyland shut down, or stores had to start scaling back how many people were in it, and that included church. And I am really proud of how the staff and the congregation and everyone just rolled with it. In those early weeks where I think my favorite joke was all of a sudden my pastor was a televangelist. There he was on my TV. In those first few weeks and months, we were learning how to record, buying new audio and visual equipment, making sure that we were streaming and ironing out all of those bugs, if you remember some of those. And I'm really proud of how we were able to respond and how God gave us the ability to even reach new people that we weren't able to reach prior. One thing I'm really excited about is we're going to continue with our streaming services and our online presence to reach out to people, because what we found is there are a lot of people that have started to attend as a result of us having online content, especially higher quality online content. Again, I'll share more with you about that in a little bit. But when we started to then meet back in person a few months later, I think it was around July, it was hot. It was summer in Fresno. And so we moved the times earlier, 8 a.m. And you know what? People showed up and they set up chairs. We bought a big tent and we made sure that we allowed people to move in the shade, and we celebrated God outdoors. And for those that didn't feel comfortable attending in person, they worshiped online. And I appreciate all the feedback that we were able to get saying that, hey, we're still here, we're still watching. We can't wait to be with our church family again. Then fast forward a little bit into the cold season, and we had to move the tent sometimes. Sometimes we needed to make adjustments because of wind or whatnot. We bought heaters, portable heaters. We bought hand warmers, extra hot cocoa, blankets with FBCC stitched into them, and we did our best to roll with it. I'm just really proud of the staff, the board, volunteers who are able to show up and just roll with whatever happens. And I genuinely believe it's going to be a source of strength that we're going to be able to tap into the future and not be thrown off or derailed by inconveniences because, well, we survived 2020. Okay, so that is Sunday kind of in a nutshell, and we're going to be having more and more advances towards moving indoors, and again, you're going to hear more about that in the weeks to come. But first, I want to give a shout out to several ministries that really shine during this time. Start with children's ministry. I mean, for a ministry that had never had an online presence really at all except for occasional pictures, to move instantly to being online, of which they've been online since March 19th or whatever it was. So we're going on almost a year now of then having an online presence, making content available for parents to be the pastoring parents in their home and giving kids something to do and something to learn about Jesus in their homes. Again, recently we've started meeting indoors again and having some more advancements towards gathering together outdoors we've already been able to do, but I'm just really proud of children's ministry stepping up. Along with them, youth group and the junior high and high school ministries have continued to meet. At first, of course, like everyone else, it was online, but then they began meeting in homes and gathering outdoor. For the last few months, they've been gathering outdoor in the breezeway here at church with the heaters on and with the TV up and the projected words for worship. And those kids, they just roll with it and they keep on worshiping God together. And I'm very proud of Stephen and the team that he has for what they're able to offer to the youth. Our Sam's Club, we've not met every other month like we had because we know that that's a population that is a little more difficult for them to come out. But many of you are getting vaccinated and have expressed that you want to continue meeting. During the last year, we were able to have several Sam's Club gatherings, and what we found is that you just really love worshiping together. Andy gets on his guitar and plays music, and just to hear your voices is such a blessing to me and I believe the rest of the staff. But we've been able to offer that. For those of you that don't know, Sam's Club is our senior adult ministry gathering. Meets every couple months. They say you need to be, 55 and up, but truth be told, they'll take anyone of any age. They're not checking IDs at the door. So feel free to absolutely show up. I'm also very proud because your financial offerings and givings allowed us to bless several of the medical hospitals and offices here in town in the midst of COVID being really running at a high rate. And especially in the early days when we didn't really know what was going on, we were able to bless just about every hospital in town. I know for sure CRMC, Clovis Community, Valley Children's, at least 2 or 3 private doctors' facilities, and over at St. Agnes, and all of them were because we have someone that attends here in the church, and we were able to bless those offices so those people could say, yeah, this is my church, just saying thank you for doing what you're doing. Our VBS looked a lot different. There wasn't 450 kids and 150 volunteers, and I'm not going to lie and say that it was just as awesome. It wasn't. It was one of those things that I'm really praying changes in the near future. We still don't know exactly what it's going to look like this year, but here is what I'm proud about. I'm proud because we had hundreds of people clamoring like, hey, what are you going to do for VBS? What are you going to do for VBS? I'm just really proud that we've created something in the last 12 years of doing VBS here at the church that the community, we don't have 450 kids at our church. The community is excited about what we have to offer to them in terms of a good quality VBS that they can send friends and family to. Some families even vacation at just the right time in order to come with someone they know to our VBS. And this year we're going to do our best to meet the criteria, but still have some form of VBS. Last year we were able to do a digital VBS and have some fun things for kids to do. But if nothing else, let them know we're still here and we will be back. We've been doing a lot of growing during this time. You kind of had to. For those of you that know Debbie Wiedekamp, our office manager of, I don't even know how many years, if she's watching, she'll probably chime in somewhere. But we made an awesome addition to our team after her and her husband moved onto a boat and they're sailing around the world. Last I heard, they're in the Bahamas somewhere. After she had left, we'd hired Julianne Vergadamo to be our office manager and events coordinator, and she's doing a phenomenal job. If you don't know her, I encourage you, just call the office and say, hey, I just want to talk to you. Nick told me to call. She'll really appreciate that. But along with her, everyone's had to step up and learn things that we didn't think we'd have to learn. People who'd never really worked on editing or Photoshop all of a sudden had to get good at those things. We created a brand new website. We've had to develop a new form of online giving. I think our greatest addition is our FBCC app, which if you haven't downloaded yet, please download it. But it allows people to check in and get push notifications and know what's going on at the church, and they can give and they can get notes for the sermon and find out what's going on. But really it helped us move from the paper world to the digital world. But also, I'm still really happy because we've not abandoned our paper users. We love you too. And so we have paper versions of everything, but we have been able to make a great leap forward into being digital. I want to give you a quick update on BBLC, our preschool that's been here for, I think they're pushing 40 years at this point. They had hard times during the COVID season, and I think if memory serves correct, they went from triple-digit students during any given day of the week down to barely double digits. They really shrunk during the early days when everything shut down, and their teachers felt the brunt of that. But because of the leadership of Kelly Sue and others, they were able to keep going, and they were able to get down to a skeleton crew and slowly start to rebuild back up. And God has been good in so many ways to that team, and I just couldn't be more proud and impressed with them. I'm also super grateful for all the parents that said, hey, just keep our tuition. We're not bringing our students in, but keep our tuition and keep your teachers paid. There were even a few people who gave generous donations to the preschool in order to bless them, to keep things going. Our community loves our preschool. And I can't tell you how many people I've had over the years come up to me and say, yeah, you didn't know I used to attend there. And now they have students. Former students of mine, adults that are here, talk about how awesome our preschool is. And I'm just incredibly grateful to God for keeping it going, and incredibly grateful for the leadership that has stayed dedicated to Him. By God's grace, they are doing well. During the early COVID season, another thing, it feels like a long time ago, but I want to remind you that we had food trucks and community going on. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of people were showing up and ordering random kinds of food. I'm now addicted to a couple of the taco trucks, and I looked them up online. But we were able to create something early on when we couldn't dine inside or outside. We were able to provide something for the community to show up. And the amount of thanks that we got for that, I'm just really excited about. It created goodwill in the community to have a place to come to. People who had never set foot on our campus were here and eating and blessed by FBCC. And another way that we were able to bless the community is we had the blood bank here 3 times in the last year for people to show up. And that blood bank was incredibly grateful because they're low on blood. We've also been able to do at least 1 or 2 life screenings in our worship center for people. Our social media team has done a tremendous job of making our online presence much more known and have higher quality stories and pictures and engagement, and letting the community and our own church body know what's going on at FBCC. It's very easy to get into your own silo and just know what is going on in your ministry, but they've done a great job of trying to keep everyone connected, along with what the office has been doing with having the connection point go out and having surveys so that you can, if you want to, know what's going on and participate in what does happen in the future. One thing that I wish I could just turn the camera and show you right now is the youth room renovation. This room looks completely different. If you remember walking into the room, you would see the stage as you walked in, but the entire room has been shifted 90 degrees. You see the giant wood panel behind me, along with giant wood inscribed words up on the walls that Stephen has put up there. And the team, Jennifer and everyone, has done a tremendous job creating a new sound booth, have new decor in here, and it looks awesome, and we can't wait to show you here in the upcoming weeks and have a walkthrough, along with our updated and renovated kitchen and the final touches that we've put in there. On top of that, we just had a rainy season, and you know what didn't happen in this room? It didn't get wet. We were able to put on that brand new roof. If you look up there, you'll see, you might even notice the old church bell is up there now, but we were able to redo the roof entirely and fill in that large gap that was basically a giant water collection area and turn it into a finished, completed, peaked out roof so that water doesn't get in anymore. And for a 40-year-old building, that is really important that we don't let water in here. And I don't believe I heard one instance of water leaking into this building. And I'm incredibly grateful because that was not cheap, but we were able to do it without borrowing money, without having a special offering, but just by faithful, normal giving. The team was able to budget and plan renovating that roof, and we have money for future projects even still. And so we are grateful to God for that, and grateful to you for your generous donations. Kelly, our children's ministry director, she's done a tremendous job keeping up with students and staying in touch with them, providing Zoom conversations with those that can jump on. And I know even my daughter benefited from that early on. She has new curriculum called the Orange Curriculum. Her and Casey have made goodie bags to go out to families, and she's reached out to lots and lots of families just to help them stay connected and in touch and help us keep a pulse on how families are doing. And we're slowly seeing more and more of those families with children come back. Many of them sit with their parents during service, and many of them now are starting to be able to enjoy children's ministry in the buildings on Sundays. I know lots of people have continued meeting with congregation. I know Pastor Brett has done a great job of still connecting and having coffee and discipleship meetings. During Halloween and during the year, we've been able to do lots of events. I say lots, not as much as normal, but given the restrictions that we've had, we've been able to do lots of events. The trunk or treating that we did in October was an incredible success. If you didn't know, we put a maze inside the worship center. We had at least 1,000 plus people show up to our campus, and person after person. I manned the front door thinking I was going to shake hands with 100 kids, but it was 3 straight hours of a line that was at least 50 yards long of saying hi, getting to know kids, fist bumping with masks on, and commenting on all their awesome costumes, and then a community that just kept saying, thank you for doing this, thank you for doing this, and being able to say, not by anything I did, but what the team did and what you've allowed us to do, you're welcome, this is the least we can do, and we want to continue to bless you, and may God bless you. And that was an incredible privilege that I got to have in greeting everybody. We're able to have a cornhole tournament, good old beanbag toss for those of you that don't know, and the winners were able to take home a couple boards. I think at least 40 or 50 participants took part in that. We had an Easter egg hunt last Easter. If you remember, we had those laminated eggs that we put out, and we had a ton of people find them and text in for a reward and have a ton of fun finding those eggs in neighborhoods. And we did that with just a few days' notice. And so this year, it's going to be one of several things that we're going to do, and we're going to do it with a lot of notice, so hopefully we have even more engagement. I'm excited for that. COVID has pushed us into doing things we wouldn't have normally done, and we're grateful for that. We've had a lot of new families. I know it can be hard because when we have 3 services, not everyone knows all the other people from the services, but one really good blessing is that when we move to one service, at least during this time, we get to be one church together. I'm almost sad that one day we're going to move back to multiple services and we're not going to all be unified. But what is really encouraging is the new people that show up and say, what a friendly place. You guys are really have a lot of good things going for you. The music is great, the teaching is great, the people are great, and I almost wish I could just record them and say, can you say that again so I can play it back? We have new families, we have people who are younger families, we have formerly young families. We just have a lot of different types of people showing up, and time after time they say, hey, we tuned in online where we weren't necessarily having a strong presence before, but we tuned in online, checked out several of your sermons, we're able to check out what you're all about on your website, and we decided to give it a try, and we really like it, and I'm just incredibly excited about that. Again, the silver lining is we probably wouldn't have put all that energy into those places if it were not for the events of 2020. The young adult group is growing and doing really well, and each person that's in that group, I just love dearly, and I've had the privilege of getting to know them, and we continue to have numbers added to their group almost weekly that'll show up on Sunday mornings and to their hangouts on Tuesday nights and to their Bible studies on Thursday nights. If you didn't know that they're gathering, then I encourage you to find a young adult and say, hey, how do I invite a young adult that I know to that gathering? Because it is a wonderful group of people. During Christmas, we didn't take Christmas off and just hole up in our homes. We still gave. We were able to help partner with the Pregnancy Care Center and the ministry where we would formally give bottles full of change. We changed it up just a little bit, and I think there was some form of boxes that we're able to fill up and give, and we were able to partner with them, and they were grateful. We did the Christmas run for the homeless as we partnered with Scott Belfi like we do every year, and we're grateful for that. The set and design decorations that we've been able to keep going, Jennifer and those that help her have just put those touches. If you were here during Christmas season at all, you saw the trees, you saw the decorations hanging down from the breezeway, and you couldn't miss the 50 or 60 foot tall snowman that greeted you as you pulled into the parking lot. I think BBLC children missed that. But also, if you were here on Christmas Eve night, you'll know that we had hung lights everywhere that you didn't get to see on Sundays, and it just created a perfect mood. Our staff just strives to create new content and environments for you to come and grow and worship Jesus in lots of different ways. We continue to go through books of the Bible and also do series that meet your need. Right now we're going through Joshua, but also when the time called for it, we did the series Apocalypse Now, where we looked at, at least minor controversial topics like the mark of the beast and end times and the rapture. If you didn't watch any of that, I encourage you, go check it out. It was a lot of fun to do, and I got a lot of positive feedback that the book of Revelation for a lot of people just wasn't as scary after we went through that, and I'm grateful for that. I probably wouldn't have chosen to do that series if we're not for 2020. Some things never stopped, and you might not even know it. A faithful prayer team that has kept the prayer chain going during all of this. People are prayed for when they fill out those little boxes, and you wonder, hey, is someone really praying? Yes, there's a prayer team that is devoted to praying for you and for people that fill those out. I've continued, and numerous staff have continued to meet and gather with people. We call them breezeway conversations a lot of times, where we just get to know you, hear how you're doing, not with an agenda, but just to stay connected with you. And again, if you would like to meet with a pastor or meet with someone on staff, just let us know. We have standing orders that is probably the most important thing that we do. We've continued to have people call a lot of our SAMS folks and check in on them to make sure that everyone's doing well. And praise God, even though many people have gotten COVID or have had other ailments, by and large, our church is doing well. Health-wise, spiritual-wise, mental-wise. I think everyone's just waiting for the slow return back to, I don't want to say normal, but back to something. Our impromptu theme for 2020 was kind of roll with it. But we had the shirts early on where it said attendance, crossed out. Being the church, check. We never stopped being the church. And we didn't even really stop gathering for all that long. It just happened to be outside and in various other ways. And so our call is to continue to be the church no matter where we are, no matter what's going on. We don't get to hit a pause button on our faith and living it out. And I know you know that, but I just want to encourage you to keep being the church where God has placed you. And it's so tempting to use the phrase, I can't wait for things to get back to normal, but I don't know if you experienced this, but I did. In those first at least 2 months of shelter in place and the lockdown or whatever you want to call it, there was this sense of, man, it doesn't feel right, but I'm reflecting on what I was doing. And the question kept coming to me, and I want to pose it to you. Was normal before all this? Was it really healthy? Like, was everything you were doing really healthy? Or has this reset button maybe been a gift that you didn't realize from God? I mean, it wasn't healthy that we were so busy that we didn't have time for things that we knew were important. I've heard a lot of people say they've been able to increase their quiet time thanks to everything that happened. I mean, were we really all that healthy when we weren't pouring into our physical health or spending time with our family or not attending church in any sort of form? My hope is that we return to something, but it not be normal, but maybe some kind of new normal. I want us to focus instead on what our not normal looks like. In fact, maybe that's going to be our t-shirts. I'm not normal, or I'm different. That's the point. As we lean into a new year and we focus on having healthier spiritual lives, having healthier physical lives, and a stronger spiritual walk, lives full of grace and love and patience, and it's just abounding in each of us, that people see that, not just our fancy events or what we have to offer on Sundays, but when they see each of us as individuals following Christ in that way, that will be the most attractive thing that we could possibly do. Not a neat advertisement or funny commercial that we can make, but people whose lives are actually changed because of the gospel. That is what I think our new not normal should be. And we strive for that. Not a fancy slogan, but a new way of living. And it's not normal. It's countercultural to what the world is doing. And so I look forward to getting back to not normal. I look forward to getting back to not normal with all of you in lots of different ways, in small groups that are starting to slowly regather, in large gatherings as we eventually move back inside. I look forward to not normal and worshiping God in that way with each and every one of you. And so it's going to be through this lens of doing things in this new way. When we do events, we're going to say, are we just doing them for the sake of doing them? Or are we intentionally doing them with the hopes of at least a little bit of discipleship? We're able to have a men's gathering at the end of 2020 and here another one in in 2021, and we're starting to say, hey, no, we're going to be intentional with our time and get into fellowship and get into confession and to accountability and start these new norms that maybe we didn't always have. We had them, but maybe not because of a ton of intentionality. My heart and focus for 2021 and the focus of the staff is to be intentional with the time that God has given us. And we're grateful to God to be able to have that time and reflect on what the new, not normal, looks like. And so our hope is that as a result, we have lives that are closer to God, deeper in relationship with each other and with Him, that are set apart from the world and look differently than they did before, and it be for God's glory. Thank you for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, we celebrate all that God has done in 2020. I thank you for the encouraging words and ideas. And if you have questions or ideas or anything that you want to talk about or just want to play a game of checkers, please reach out to us. We are here to serve you and to create community in any way that we can for God's glory. Thank you also to those that have continued to give faithfully during this time. I know that times are tough and it's a sacrifice to God, and it's not lost on us that your gifts are a gift and offering to God. We know that, and so we pray that we steward every dollar that we get well, and that we know that it comes from you worshiping God, not just as a tip to us because we're doing a good job. So thank you to those that trust us with those gifts. Again, if you need anything, just let us know. May God bless you, and may God bless 2021 as we roll in looking not normal.